So we're going to go over treatment of the levator scap using manual scar tissue treatment. The levator scap is really important muscle. It's very vastly overworked and misunderstood in a lot of injuries. The name of it, levator scap itself, it does what it says. It elevates the scapula. But what happens is when there's a lot of dysfunction in the neck, problems in there, it starts to act as a secondary stabilizer of the neck. And when that happens, it gets overworked and it's always on, it never gets a break. And when a muscle is always on and never gets a break, it doesn't get enough blood flow, it doesn't get enough oxygen, and that actually causes it to lay down a lot of scar tissue. And scar tissue makes the muscle weaker, less flexible. So pretty much anyone in modern society out there is going to have dysfunction in this area. They're like, oh, it always hurts in here. Now the problem is when people are treating this, they're actually too compressive. They don't get enough what's called tension. Tension is what actually breaks down scar tissue. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is how we treat the levator scap, and you can actually go in there and break it down by getting proper depth and tension. So I really like to do these sitting because it gives the back support and things like this, and as the client's going to go through the motion. So what I like to do first, have the client just sit just like this, and they're going to come back just like that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take their arm on the side that I'm working, and I'm going to have them bring it just over just like that. What that does is it kind of pulls the scapula out of the way, allows the levators to kind of settle a little bit, gets the rhomboid and everything out there. Now, the key, and I'm going to have you come in a little bit closer here, the key is going to be to find where that levator lives. So a lot of times in the anatomy books, they have the levator coming out and making like a weird J motion in there. It doesn't actually do that. It actually goes straight back and straight through. So the way I find where the levator goes is I usually find from that superior angle of the scapula and go through here. And a trick that I do is I bring the neck back, and you see how it creases in here when we bring the neck back. That allows me to get my landmark of where I want to go. So that's a little trick that I do. So now we know that, and I'm going to be there. And what I'm going to do is have the client bring their head back just like this. And now I'm going to go through my motion and my palpation. And then when I'm ready, the client is actually going to drop their head down very slowly into flexion. And this is called internal slide on the tissue as we go. And we're going to go nice and slow. So one thing I like to do for the levator is I like to come at like a 45-degree angle. 45-degree angle as we come through. So what I'll do is I like to use my outside hand, and it's here, and then I find that crease in the neck, then I know where I'm at, and it puts that muscle in a shortened position. Now I come through, I approach here, my outside hand is right on the top here, and then my inside hand is here, and that actually backs it up. And I create what's called like a lock and key, where my thumb goes in there and protects it. So I'm here, here just like that, and then I'm going to come in like that, and I'm nice and relaxed. And the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go up on my toes, and then I'm going to sink straight down to the floor. And that's what's called my first depth. Now my second depth is going to be with this non-contact hand. I'm going to get in there and do a pec push, just like that, and that gets me more depth. Then I'm going to back out about 5 or 10%, and the next thing I'm going to do is pull my lats back like that, and then I'm going to do what's called a hip hinge and drop my butt back like that, and that increases my tension. Now it's loaded, and now I have the client drop their head very slowly, and as they're dropping their head very slowly, I'm keeping my depth and dropping my butt back as we go, and keep going, keep going, keep going, until they reach down and touch their chest. This area is very dysfunctional. We have to account for the different changes in the anatomy and where you are. And you can see how deliberate I am. I come in at 45. It's a very slow and in-depth process as we go, as we're generating the tension and going in there. But if you can effectively find and fix scar tissue in here, what that's going to do is decompress the neck and take a lot of pressure off of the discs and the joints in the neck. And this area is usually very beat up, and a lot of therapists want to get in there like with their elbow, or they want to get in there and be too compressive. And I always say, if you're treating scar tissue, think of it as like a rubber band. And if I put a rubber band on the floor, I can jump on it, I can drive it over with a car, it's not going to break. What actually breaks it is that tension, and that's what we teach, is getting proper depth, then tension. using your body so you can work, what do I always say? Work smarter, not harder. So that's the levator scap.